A city of 50,000 people cannot be governed like a camp of 50. Most residents are strangers. No elder can personally remember every debt, field boundary, marriage, or crime. Yet by the 3rd millennium BCE, cities in Mesopotamia and Egypt coordinated irrigation, taxes, trade, temples, armies, and courts. Why did humans create gods, kings, and laws, and why did millions obey institutions they could not personally see? These were not 3 separate inventions. Shared gods created moral communities and ritual obligations. Kings concentrated decisions and organized force. Laws and writing made expectations and claims more predictable across strangers and generations. Together, they created an invisible order larger than any one person. Belief did not begin with kings. Burials, pigments, figurines, and ritual sites show symbolic behavior long before cities. At Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Anatolia, monumental stone enclosures appeared from around 9600 BCE, before full farming dominated the region. Seasonal gatherings may have combined ritual, exchange, feasting, and alliance building. Ritual helped communities coordinate uncertainty. Ceremonies marked births, deaths, marriages, hunts, and dangerous transitions. Shared stories explained weather, fertility, illness, and death. Religion was not simply invented by cynical rulers. People could sincerely experience gods, ancestors, and spirits as real. The historical question is why shared belief became so useful at larger scales. Strangers who honored the same sacred rules could trust one another beyond immediate kin. Oaths, taboos, and festivals made obligations public. Farming concentrated people, property, and disputes. By about 3500 to 3000 BCE, Uruk in southern Mesopotamia had grown into one of the world's first major cities, with perhaps tens of thousands of inhabitants. Urban residents depended on strangers. Farmers delivered grain. Shepherds managed herds. Boatmen moved cargo. Craftspeople produced pottery, textiles and metalwork, and institutions distributed rations and labor. This complexity created disputes. Who owned a field after a flood erased a marker? Who had repaid a loan? Who was responsible when a canal failed? Writing emerged in this environment in the late 4th millennium BCE. The earliest tablets were largely administrative: grain, animals, workers, and goods. Writing began not primarily as literature, but as institutional memory. A clay tablet allowed an obligation to survive the people who first witnessed it. The person who controlled records gained new power over what was officially owed. Large projects required decisions that could not wait for universal agreement. Irrigation, walls, defense, storage, and famine relief demanded labor and resources. Early kingship combined several roles: war leader, judge, builder, priestly patron, and distributor of surplus. A leader who protected fields, settled disputes, and organized storage could gain lasting authority. In Egypt, political unification around 3100 BCE connected much of the Nile Valley under a royal state. The king was linked to cosmic order. In Mesopotamia, rulers often claimed divine selection and portrayed themselves as shepherds who protected the weak, restored temples, and defeated chaos. Kingship solved a coordination problem by creating a final decision-maker. It also created a new question: why should thousands obey one household? Sacred legitimacy, public works, redistribution, and military protection supplied answers, while armed force punished those who rejected them. Temples were not only places of private worship. In many early cities, they owned land, stored goods, employed workers, and organized festivals. Priests controlled specialized ritual knowledge. Palaces organized warfare, taxation, construction, and diplomacy. The boundary between sacred and political authority was often blurred. A king gained legitimacy when divine favor appeared to support his rule. A temple gained protection and wealth from royal patronage. The relationship differed across cultures. Egyptian pharaohs were deeply embedded in divine kingship. Mesopotamian rulers more often acted as chosen servants of the gods, though some were deified. Sacred authority could also limit rulers. A king who failed to maintain justice, protect temples, or preserve order could be judged illegitimate according to the same beliefs he invoked. Religion could support, shape, and criticize political power. Custom existed long before writing. Families, elders, and assemblies settled disputes through remembered rules. Written law became useful when states governed larger populations and wanted decisions to appear consistent. The law collection of Ur-Nama, from around 2100 BCE in southern Mesopotamia, is among the earliest surviving examples. Hammurabi's collection, produced in Babylon around 1754 BCE, contains nearly 300 provisions on property, wages, loans, marriage, injury, and professional responsibility. It did not function exactly like a modern codebook in every courtroom, and many people could not read it. Its political message was crucial. The king claimed to establish justice under divine authority. The laws also reveal hierarchy. Penalties and compensation differed according to social status. Written law could restrain revenge and clarify responsibility, but it could also formalize unequal categories. For ordinary people, gods, kings, and laws appeared in practical moments: a marriage contract, a field boundary, a debt tablet, a tax demand, a court case, or a festival. Contracts used witnesses, seals, and written records because trust alone was insufficient. A sealed tablet could be stored and produced later. Courts relied on testimony, oaths, and documents. Swearing before a god raised the moral and supernatural cost of lying. Law could protect vulnerable people in particular cases and regulate wages, debts, inheritance, and professional duties. Royal proclamations sometimes canceled debts or restored land. But access to justice remained unequal. Wealthy households had stronger networks, literacy, and influence. Women in some periods could own property, conduct business, and inherit, while slaves, debt servants, and captives possessed far less freedom. The same legal institution that protected one person's property could enforce another person's bondage. People obeyed for several reasons at once. Many sincerely believed the sacred order. Some benefited from irrigation, trade, protection, or legal stability. Local elites gained office. Officials received rations or land. Soldiers gained pay and status. Others complied because resistance was dangerous. States controlled armed forces, confiscation, imprisonment, and public punishment. Most importantly, institutions became normal. A child born into a city did not encounter kingship, temples, and law as new inventions. They were simply how the world worked. Ritual calendars, legal categories, and administrative records shaped life before a child could question them. Institutions also outlived rulers. A king died, but scribes, courts, tax offices, and temples remained. The strongest order mixed meaning, benefit, habit, and force. Combine them, and millions could coordinate without ever meeting the ruler. Before centralized courts, a dispute could trigger revenge between families. One injury produced retaliation, which produced another. Compensation, oaths, witnesses, and judges offered alternatives. A payment could transform vengeance into a measurable obligation. A judge created an authorized ending. Legal procedure also protected administration. A state needed to know who owned land, who owed tax, and which children inherited. Documents multiplied because states wanted legible populations. The same record could protect an owner from false claims and make taxation more efficient. Shared belief organized time as well as space. Agricultural societies needed calendars for planting, harvest, festivals, taxes, and labor obligations. Priests observed seasons and celestial cycles. Festivals synchronized thousands of people, while rulers used gatherings to distribute food, announce decisions, and display authority. Repetition transformed exceptional commands into normal obligations. The institutions did not always agree. Priests could oppose rulers, kings could confiscate temple estates, judges could follow custom rather than royal proclamation, and local communities could defend sacred traditions against imperial law. Authority depended on cooperation among groups that also had their own interests. Once courts, scribes, and archives existed, law could develop continuity beyond one ruler. Contracts mattered because later officials recognized them. Property could be inherited because institutions survived the current king. Predictability encouraged trade and long-term planning. An invisible order becomes powerful when people act as though its categories are real. A boundary marker becomes property because law recognizes it. A title such as king, priest, or judge exists because others accept its authority. A debt is a social claim, but records and courts can make it take land or labor. That same mechanism can naturalize inequality. If law defines one person as free and another as enslaved, the distinction becomes official. If religion presents a dynasty as divinely chosen, political privilege becomes sacred. Humans created gods, kings, and laws because large societies required trust among strangers, decisions beyond the family, and rules that survived individual memory. These institutions held societies together by combining belief, organization, and coercion. Their greatest strength and their greatest danger was their ability to make a human arrangement feel permanent.